The only reason why we want anything is because we hope that it gives us a feeling. The problem with that is you can spend a life doing something and get what you want, thinking it's going to give you the feeling, but it doesn't give you the feeling. And instead, why not just flip it around and focus on the feelings first?
Do you want to speak a little bit to like the ever-evolving nature of the container that you're creating with Omnia? Because I think this happens in entrepreneurship where we're building the plane as it's flying.
I don't believe change needs to be hard. Change can happen in an instant. It's the moment you recognize that this narrative isn't serving you anymore and you just go, I'm willing to let it go. First thing in the morning when you're lying there, just take a moment to really connect with what you are. We'll feel this infinite part of ourselves. And then we just ask the question, how do I want to feel today?
This is like the parable where it's like every day the guy's praying saying, please let me win the lottery, please let me win the lottery. And at some point they're like, God speaks back and says, could you buy a ticket?
You can be a victim of your experience or you can be a creator of your experience. Become the creator of your experience.
This is Willpower.
Today, I'm thrilled to share with you someone who isn't just a guest. He's one of my dear friends, and it happened so quickly. Someone I felt an immediate sense of connection with the moment that we met. And there are many opportunities that he has thrown my way in my life to say, come and do this thing, come and explore this territory, come down to Panama, come to Omaha. And I just keep saying yes. So it's really interesting when you have such a connection with someone and their world and their family that you want to just say yes, and you want to share their story on the podcast, and you want to make sure that everyone gets a chance to see and meet my friend, this visionary, this breath concert leader, this consciousness guide, Finnian Kelly. And he is an author of a book called Intentionality. And every time I spend time with him, I get the opportunity to see him being highly intentional. He has a wizard-like way of giving me advice that feels practical and also like a stretch for me to step into my best self. And I could say so many things, but it would barely scratch the surface. You're going to get a chance to hear from him yourself. He's also a co-founder of Cascada in Portland, and after Burning Man was so lovely, I had a chance to go there for a couple days. It is one of the most intentional, beautiful hydrothermal wellness spaces emerging in the US. And you know that I love the hot, the cold, and all the pieces that go along with that. And he is a leader who's redefining how we breathe, how we relate, how we create, how we do health and well-being. Through his book, Intentionality, which we'll talk about a bit today, and all the stories he tells, his global breath concerts, and the deeply transformational work he brings into rooms across the world, Finnian teaches what it means to live by design instead of default. And when I say that to you, it's not just me reading off a piece of paper. He teaches what it means to live by design instead of default. That is absolutely the highest form of his message and purpose. So the episode feels personal and it's powerful, and it's a full body reminder of what becomes possible when we pair all of these things with the bravery to step forward into our biggest, brightest selves. So let's take a deep inhale together and exhale. This conversation is going to open something inside you. Finn, I'm so glad to have you here after we have spent some magical time together. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I know it's been a real treat. We've had a few interactions the last few weeks.
Yeah, for sure. So I wanted to open the show and dive deep because I know that you're really beautifully structured like this as a human, which is, let's talk about our heart and soul of the matter and the ways that we can expand and manifest the lives that we dream of. And I think starting from a bit of the beginning of your origin, perhaps really, what has been the thing that you've navigated that's been the most challenging thing or one of the biggest challenges in your life, and how has that informed the work you do today?
I just realized I'm changing my answer that I'd normally give right now. I would normally give, it was going through my divorce and really my whole identity crisis just crashing down at once, which came the deep driver for the work of Intentionality in the book that I published last year. However, that's not the answer I'm going to give right now, because I've had another experience which was definitely enlightening for me. It was the birth of my first son, which was just over a year ago. And it was very confronting for me because it took me to a place that I thought I was past, and I thought I had dealt with all my wounds and all my trauma, and I uncovered another one, which was really about the distrust of the medical system, which was relating back to when my mama, I never call my mum mama, but it's because I call Sydney mama. My mother nearly died after the birth of my my youngest sister, and it was a real betrayal of the system. And after we were a very natural birth, like the whole leading up to it and wanting a home birth, natural birth, and through a series of different incidences, we ended up in hospital with a C-section, and it triggered everything from my childhood. And I thought I was going to lose a loved one. I felt betrayed by the medical system, and it completely disrupted a very beautiful time. It was super confusing for me, and I had to really face myself to another level. And thankfully, I have enough awareness now to be able to know how to do the work in that period. But that first 2 weeks, which was meant to be bliss, it was very confronting. And what it's made me realize is it's actually made me double down on everything I believe in and the process of intentionality, and how important it is to like really uncover and go exploring anything that potentially is there. We need to unlock, because otherwise it will manifest in a way that's forced us to do it. And for me, I was aware, like you could see the language, how I was like talking about the medical system. It was there, but I didn't realize how important it was for me to face it. And luckily I have now.
Yeah, just growing up in Tasmania and whatnot, like it was American medical system, right? Like North American.
Yeah.
So it felt different than things you'd seen maybe in the past. And we talk a lot about this on the show, right? Where the challenges are faced. Like we're thankful for modern medicine. And then there's also a lot of archaic beliefs and stuckness in the system and red tape and people not helping you advocate, right? You really have to advocate for what you want.
And I was aware, and I still could not stop the show. Like that's how it was so crazy. I was like, I was watching my worst dream play out in front of my eyes, and it was almost like I was paralyzed. And that's how strong the system is. And that's something I want to share with people, is just how strong the system is. And at the same time, it all works out perfectly. Like it was actually the perfect experience for me to actually unlock this. Unfortunately, my partner and my child had to go through this. However, it was a gift, because I found another depth of myself, and also recognizing that we can have our preferences and our desires and our likes and our beliefs, and the universe will just play it out exactly what we need in order for our growth. So there's a freedom that comes with that when you face your deepest fear as well.
Was there a moment that you felt like there was like, oh, this is like the darkest depths of this situation with like the new child coming and my wife and the challenge, that you were like you really remember that as the catalyst for like being able to like start to walk uphill from that, like, let's call it the rock bottom moment, or something that you were like, fuck.
I was in this operating room alone, getting put in scrubs, and after a 36-hour labor experience, and then we're suddenly rushed into a C-section. And I knew it was because the doctor was coming to the end of its shift, and it wanted to do that, and it was forced into this situation. And I was devastated. I was alone. I was crying. I was taken. All the emotion just suddenly crept up into me. And that's when I realized I was in this trauma loop. It was just playing out from my young age. And luckily a friend happened to call at that moment, who I had coached and helped break a world record together. And so he knew my work intimately. And thankfully he like honored me and said, like, I know you're actually probably right. Everything you're saying is true. You've probably been let down in the medical system. However, it doesn't matter. All you have is right now and this moment. And he said, I know you would have prepared, like, what are the 3 feelings that you want to feel in this birth, which is my work, which is about prioritizing feelings over
your work
outcomes.
on you.
Yeah. And I sat there and I just took a moment. I remembered I wanted to feel very present, trusting, and connected. And he goes, well, that's what you have right now. Like, you're about to have an experience that you wouldn't have got otherwise. You're going to be the first person to hold him, have this experience, and you need to make sure you feel that. And I was able to take a breath, which is a circuit breaker, like override the system, the trauma loop that was going in, focus on that experience. And quickly I was rushed into the operating room. My partner's organs were all on the table. I was witnessing my son being birthed, and I was able to lock in and hold his hand. And I just kept reminding myself, this is what I want him to feel, and this is what I want to feel in this moment. And because of that, I was able to look into his eyes, and there was just so much love and depth. And I was able to be present for that whole experience and not compound the trauma loop, because I was in the trauma loop. But imagine if I hadn't have been present and I was in my own experience. I would then have another trauma loop about that, about how I let down my family. But instead I was able to do it. And that's the power of this feelings-based work, is it just grounds you in this present moment. And it gives you an ability to take action, even in a time where you feel like you have no control and no ability to take action. You can always drive your response to this situation.
Yeah. Let's just talk a little bit about the premise of the book. It's such a beautiful and honor that story. Like I can't, just not having gone through that physically myself, I can't imagine being there. And also just like commending you on that piece, right? I think that there's something when we look at through the lens of trauma and somatics in the body, it's like not only are you present for your son energetically, whether your wife is out on the table or awake or not, you're present for that experience energetically, right? Whatever's happening with the doctors in the circle or the hospital in that room, you really are able to share your energy with your kiddo and with your woman in that experience. And then as a result of it, perhaps not even just not complicate or double down the trauma loop, but perhaps unpack and heal a bit of the old wounding, with this like new, hey, I showed up for it in a different way. And it's just ever without presence, it's next to impossible to do. So I want to commend you on that. And also just talk a little bit more about the book, since it's so feelings based and the style of work that you lead into.
The book was really written for all the people who go through these experiences and just don't know how to get there themselves. And I was very lucky that I had enough time, resources, intelligence, network to really uncover what had gone wrong for me. And I was a very mind-based person. I was as good with my mind as anyone. And I saw the limitation of it was when I actually achieved the vision for my life and I still didn't get that ultimately the feeling that I was looking for. And that's what I realized one day, was that the only reason why we want anything is because we hope that it gives us a feeling. The problem with that is you can spend a life doing something and get what you want, thinking it's going to give you the feeling, but it doesn't give you the feeling. And instead, why not just flip it around and focus on the feelings first? Like, let's get the feelings now, and then the outcomes will come afterwards. So I've basically mapped out a way for the very intellectual mind to go through a journey to unlock the feeling body. And it's not saying the mind and the thinking mind isn't valuable. It's actually how do we integrate the two in order to make better decisions, get greater clarity of what we really want, and to live a life that gives us these states of peace, love, and joy. And I've incorporated a lot of breath techniques throughout there because I think the breath is the bridge. It's a bridge between the conscious and the subconscious minds, and enables us to override the conditioned programming that has been put into us through our parenting, our society, our religious systems, and to go, well, what really matters to me and how do I want to feel? And it's a book that you can come back to many, many times. I've distilled a lot of different information. It's not just a one and done book. The best way to do it is read it, listen to it on Audible, come back to it. I guide meditations and breathwork sessions on it. It's a playbook to keep coming back to. I keep coming back to it myself.
I speak to this as a coach also when it's yours and it's this close to your face, like putting my hand on my nose for those who aren't watching. It's yours, it's like this close and you can't really kind of see the forest through the trees. And when we're working with other people, it's a bit more, we have a bit more discernment and a bit more understanding because we can sort of see the whole thing as it's unfolded in the human condition or their humanity or their stories or their parental structure or their constructs. To speak to a bit of the breath in the book and also breath in general, there's like a beautiful reputation that you have for blasting people off into other zones of consciousness. And so that's what the swirling rumors are about your work. And I think that's really beautiful. I wonder if you sort of agree with that and is part of your practice utilizing some of the bigger breathing styles to be able to shift people out of like the monkey mind or where they're stuck.
It's always interesting to see how you're perceived by others. On the book, it's interesting. One of my favorite things about it is that one of my biggest markets is coaches and therapists who use the book to share with their clients because it's like, this is everything I've been talking about, it distilled into information that you can understand. So that's been fun. In regards to the breath, it's not necessarily me blasting them off into other experiences because I think that's almost become a bit of a problem in the world. Like we're addicted to these highs and you can have this experience and have this high, but if you don't know how to integrate it, it's not very valuable. What I really believe I do is I create a container of so much safety and so much trust that then you can go explore the things that you know that you probably need to explore because you've got that support and love. And there's so much love in this container. And then I really get out of the way of Finnian and I drop into presence And through my presence has an opportunity to bless the presence that's in them. And it's not me doing anything to them. It's literally presence, blessing presence. And all what happens is they stop identifying with their finite versions of themselves and they connect to this infinite version of themselves, this essential nature of who they are. And then the conditions are just right for them to have this moment of recognition. And in that moment of recognition, suddenly they realize, oh, wow, like there's so much more to this life. The stories that I've been living by, perhaps I don't need to live by them. I can just unravel them in a moment. And I think the term of the blast off occurs is because it just suddenly shifts in an instant. And something that they've been living by for a really long time doesn't have to be that way anymore. And that can be very disorientating because it's like, whoa, I've lived like this for so long. And also I have this story that change is hard. I don't believe change needs to be hard. Change can happen in an instant. It's the moment you recognize that this narrative isn't serving you anymore and you just go, I'm willing to let it go. And that's the real fun about these experiences. And I'm in awe of them all the time. Like you were just at the Heartland Gathering last weekend, which we can talk about, but I led the most incredible breath concert with my brother, Kristin, who's an amazing DJ and harmonica player and also lives and breathes the breath himself. And we had never met each other before. This is the magic of being present.
I love this story.
Yeah,
I love it. So just for context, for people who are listening, I had the supreme opportunity to go out to the Heartland Gathering, not really knowing fully exactly what it was, but knowing it was connected to you and like the beautiful family that you've created of friends and people around the world. And thank goodness there was limited service on my cell phone because it helped us all drop in even more. It was like such a present event where everyone felt like friends and family from the moment I walked in the door. And especially when you walk in and you only know 1 or 2 people out of 300, there's always a notion, or at least in me, where I'm like, you know, little girl first day of school syndrome, where you're like, hey, how's this going to go? Am I going to be funny? Am I going to be fun? Are people going to be nice? And everybody was just beyond welcoming. And also like change makers in society. So people who are really leaning into health and wellness. And we talked a lot about psychedelics and AI. It was like hot topics for the weekend. And the experience was so incredible. And there were just so many rave reviews about the session that you held. And that was like coordinated and conducted with music. And people talked about the two of you being so well balanced to work together. And I think there'll be more of that. More people can check in on not just the Heartland Gathering, but the two of you sort of touring around a bit and doing this. This is a prime example of your work as well. I think you can tell the story, but just like how you sort of manifested this into reality. Do you like the term manifesting when you talk about intentionality in this way? Like,
yeah, I do. I talk about it, the scientific manifestation process, to actually show there's a real tangible process based on physics, which I have a double degree in maths and physics, that it's not just by chance. Like there is a formula on how the world is created and how we are co-creating all the time. Yeah, it's a great story. So I think it was 7 years ago, I was at Burning Man and I was leading a breath event, and there was a guy from my camp. He had an accent. He's like, Finnian, you need to meet this guy, Kristin. He's like you. He's amazing. He's a breath guy and he just loves music, and he's a blonde-haired Viking brother like yourself. And I was like, interesting. I've never heard of him. And one day I was riding my bike in the afternoon and I just saw a big crowd and I pulled up, and as soon as I arrived, it just suddenly went, breathe. And there was this guy on the top of Mayan Warrior, which is this huge art car. And I recognized, oh, this must be the guy, Kristin, because he started playing harmonica. And I just had this hour dance set by myself, just fully in my body. And while I was in that body, I was connecting, and I had a vision. Oh, I'm going to do this with Kristin one day on a big art car. We're going to have thousands of people out there. So once you feel that, that's already part of the creation, like it's already started happening. And I sat with it, and the next year it came back to me. I reached out to him just on Instagram and said, like, are you coming to the Burning Man again? We could do something together. Now, he hasn't been to Burning Man since that day. Wow. He had problems with his visas, and I just let it sit there, but I always knew I had this vision. I've had it in my manifestation process. I have this like visual picture of it. And this year I suddenly went, hang on, like, I could bring him and we could do this at the Heartland Gathering. It was just a moment of recognition. Yes, it's different from that. However, it would be the start. And so I got on a video call with him and shared and just dropped into a deep love and presence. Now, he's just a newborn dad, newborn father as well. And he didn't really want to travel, but he felt my love and my commitment to this. And he goes, okay, let's do it. And it's an interesting experience because we're both leaders, and neither of us have ever co-led a breath event before. And we're like, let's do it, but let's meet the day before and we'll produce the whole experience. Now, how fate has it, my plane got delayed, so I didn't arrive till late at the night, and we're leading the next morning. So I met him that morning and like had this moment, and I just said, look, there is nothing we can do now besides fully trust ourselves, trust each other, and trust the field, like trust the divine presence that wants to come through us. And if we do that, then I'm confident it will be amazing. We got up there. I can tell you, it was just a beautiful experience where I watched myself doing it the whole time, and him, and none of it was choreographed. It was all just organic and natural. I had this beautiful moment when my son came into it, Ossian, and he was just rocking it out, and that woke up for a lot of people. And at the end, it was one of my most favorite moments. It wasn't just about them, but this was about me. It was like an experience of going, wow, this manifestation's complete. And everyone thought we had rehearsed it. They couldn't believe it because it was just so pure. A lot of this work is like full trust. You don't have to think about what you're saying. You just need to be in the experience and it'll come through you. And now we're going to go on a journey, and I have no doubt we're going to be at Burning Man with thousands of people out there, which is part of the fun journey. That's part of the manifestation, is you can't control how it's going to happen or the when. You just have to have so much faith and belief in your creation that it will happen at its perfect timing.
Yeah, trust is a big piece of this, and a big piece of your work and your belief. And then the thing you've also spoken to a lot is really just about, having love for the space and love for the people, and the way that you represent that is just so pure. I get to see you in circles of friends and circles of leadership, and you're just like showing up with such. I would like to assume that this is a bit about what you're speaking about, and maybe you can relate. I was like really working to be like, make the playlist perfect and make the cueing perfect and have everything be in the space of where it is. And I had a moment where I had a women's retreat, 25, 30 women, all of my technology around the playlist, like somehow I had it on loop, and it was like, thankfully not in my like, thrash metal folder or something, but it was just in a loop within a folder. So all of the songs I had chosen to do in order were just like shuffling, and I couldn't get it to turn off. And I probably battled it for the first song or so. Like you're talking like 4 minutes where everyone's eyes are closed and the camera guy's like, what's going on? She's like feverishly typing on the computer and trying to fix it. And I couldn't. And it forced me to do the thing, which was just like throw my hands up and say, okay. And when I finished that breathwork session, I was like, I'm not even sure who taught that, right? Like there's this notion of course it's you, it's coming out of your mouth, and I'm not sure who taught it. And people who had been in my breath classes before and at the retreat were just like, that was the most incredible breath you've ever led. And I was like, well, I hope I can do it again, because it was nothing on plan. But there's something about really like presencing, and some people might use the word like channeling presence or channeling the trust in the universe or whatever thing that might sound woo to someone else. But I think that there's a real notion about being in a flow state, being in that presence that you're talking about. Like, can you relate to that? Does that feel like in your early days you were trying to intellectualize the journey?
I really do. And one, I just want to appreciate that compliment you gave. It was really beautiful. And I totally agree, is as soon as we start trying to get an outcome, we're in the way. And there was experiences, in breath, there's times where it's just like there's so much energy and people are like making all these noises, and you can become addicted to that. But if you try to get that, you miss the moment. And only an experienced person can you start feeling that. And sometimes the experience where there's not getting anything, actually they're getting everything. You're just not getting your moment of, I suppose, ego fulfillment. And that's something I've really had to work with. And that's why I do so many practices beforehand, humbling myself, getting out, getting grounded, and then also afterwards as well, to just really make sure that I'm not in the way, like Finnian's not in the way, and presence can come through. And I also want to communicate about that trust element. It's trust and action. So a lot of people forget about the action piece is, oh yeah, I just trust in my manifestation. But you've also got to have those moments where, oh wow, call up Kristin and get him to come do this experience. So there was an action, and he'll say that. Like he came because I definitely like trusted my intuition. I was like, brother, like why wouldn't you do this? And that's similar in the breath. There's a moment where we create so much trust, so much safety, so much love that then I can give him that gentle push of, why wouldn't you go a little bit more? It's not a force, but it's an invitation, and it's a playfulness, and it's that action that then steps them over the edge. And same with myself. I say that we collectively. And that's imperative.
Yeah, and I think that action portion is really important, right? This is like the parable where it's like every day the guy's praying, saying, please let me win the lottery, please let me win the lottery. And at some point they're like, God speaks back and says, could you buy a ticket?
Yes, I love that.
If you buy a ticket, you got a better shot. So that action is a piece I think that people are also don't always feel like they have permission to take, generally speaking, in their life. And I think it's also like another reason why your book is such a great resource for people to get in there and really get some daily practices around that and get the energy moving through the system in a number of different ways so that they can move forward. Not just with intentionality, which is a beautiful term, but getting this manifesting piece out of the wooniverse. Not that it can't be in there, but like that there is something that's really practical about manifestation. I think people like Joe Dispenza in the world wouldn't exist if there wasn't like scientific backing and enough practicality around it. And you make it really palatable, right? In the way that you talk through things in your work and your book and your coaching. I want to talk a little bit about the place that you opened in Portland, because I got the beautiful experience to go and be there and decompress after Burning Man, but also just that I've been to a lot of places around the world. You know this, I said this to you in a voicemail. I've traveled a lot of places to experience mineral springs and hot pools and cold plunges and spas of all different kinds. And I was like just mesmerized and so impressed by every single detail at Cascada, which is the place we're talking about in the Portland area. It was like this unexpected surprise and delight of joy. Like Portland's a great place to hang and all of it has all the things, but it was really like a surprise and delight, joy landing to be able to be in Cascada and utilize the tools there, have everyone and every person on the staff just be so kind and attentive and like channeling your energy in many ways. And that was, as a businesswoman as well, I think that trickle-down effect it can be a challenging thing to make sure that the business is a representation of the vibe, the energy, the welcoming that you wanna share. So just how did that come to be? And of course, I want to talk about your practices and like heat and cold in the world.
Yeah, it was one of those ones, again, that was a pleasant surprise to me. But if you look back, there was an intentional practice of how it manifested. So Cascada was actually in the works before I joined. It was in a process. Two business partners of mine were transitioning a property to more of a wellness space, and then they saw the opportunity and the trend, and that's when I got involved. So I feel very grateful to be on this journey with them. And basically we've created a new category, which is thermal bathhouses plus boutique hotel rooms plus nourishing food. And then we have wellness classes all around. And it's this idea, this space to really reconnect with yourself. And so often wellness transformation can seem as a high barrier entry, but all we're asking to do is just like come in and just have a little soak. And by the structure that we've created, it naturally unlocks things. So in the sanctuary, it's candlelit. There's no talking. And people go down, and most people haven't spent a minute by themselves. And like they actually have a minute to go inward, and they're like, oh, thank God, I get to declutter all this outward stuff that keeps coming into my mind. And that just unlocks something to them. Then they have these beautiful social areas, and they get invited. They do a breath event or a sound bath, or they do some form of activity which just unlocks something for them. And that is what we're really focusing on doing with Cascada, this place to just uncover things about yourself with very low friction. And the intentionality has been incorporated through every little thing. Like there's no seed oils in any of the restaurants or any of our food. There's no polyethylene in any of the products. We've created all our own products. We've created our own skincare line. And we think about it as every little thing makes up the experience of Cascada. There's multiple facets of Cascada, but there's one experience. And all of us have to be at this exceptional level to make that. And that's why you're noticing that the team are so incredibly energized and loving and supportive, because you have one bad interaction with a person, doesn't matter how good the structure is, people remember that. And it's a true gift that we get this. And now we're going to create multiple of these around America. And we want to be that. Obviously, the work I do personally is very, very deep, and it's often only available to the upper echelons, like the top CEOs in the world. And this was a space where we can get that method of transformation and change in order for a lot more people to do it. Like we have 100,000 unique visitors coming through the property each year. We'll end up having multiple of these locations, so we can start activating them and inspiring them. And who knows where it's going to go, but we're very excited and very passionate about it.
Yeah, and my background in production of events and like working in venues and then working in spa culture and then traveling and consulting for breath and cold and heat, especially like, contrast therapy studios in the biohacking space. I mean, I can say to you 10 times over, I've been and seen a lot of places, but it's like I've seen the back rooms of a lot of these places. And I will just like, the one example is that at Burning Man this year was a lot of like rain and dirt and mud and dust, as you know, but I left a pair of boots next to the trash can because they were like done and dusted from the burn. But I like, for some reason, just like didn't put them in there. I don't know if I felt like recycling or whatever. So I left them next to the trash can. And about an hour and a half, 2 hours after I left, the front desk called me and said, "Hey, I just want to check in on you. There's a pair of boots you left behind." And I felt like no other property would do that. Not anywhere globally around the entire world. No one would have checked in to say, "Hey, this chick might have left a pair of boots accidentally. Let's call in and see if it's okay." It was just
so
like,
happy to hear that. It's because
like,
we treat them as your friends and family. Like we actually do treat every single person that comes through, and it's like, what would you like to be? How would you like to be taken care of? And what would be really nice? And we really do empower everyone to do that. And our like cleaning, like hospitality department is just so great. Like they're so important to us, and we recognize that. It's everything.
Yeah. And I asked all the tough questions of all the people looking for all the things and just like devil in the detail, the artwork, the spaces, the welcome, everything. And also what's really nice is people can come and stay there. Like I think it's a perfect place for a staycation or some kind of romantic, celebration or what have you, some girlfriends or bachelorette. I mean, all the things you can do to be able to sort of like serve the body well. And also people were there just like, hey, I'm going to do a day pass because I need a breather, right? From my kids, from my partner, from my whatever work or what have you. So it was like just a really nice mix. And that downstairs space is just, it being a more quiet space is actually gives you permission to not have to worry about having any chit chat with anyone if you're that kind of a person, and really lets you turn inward. And so, yeah, it's just so well done, and kudos to you. And for anyone who's listening, who's traveling through Portland or many other places where you're going to be opening up, I like really strongly recommend it's like the place to stay and the place to, you feel like I'm just going to go for a soak, but then you get so much more than that. You've done the great job of luring people in that way. And then they're like, oh my gosh, I had a transformational experience. Because all too often, right, we're like, come for the transformational experience. And people are like, that feels like a lot. I don't know if I can handle a whole transformation today. But yeah, it really just feels like
and that's
home.
a very intentional part of our strategy is like, we want to make it very easy for you and then know that we're going to take you on a journey. And we're always going to just go to that 1 degree of separation. Just what's that next edge? What's that next edge? We're not going to be too far away. We're just going to be that next thing. And who knows what will open up. And yeah, you were very right to decompress there after Burning Man. I wish I had gone there myself.
Yeah, it was like a perfect, again, surprise and delight for sure for us. Can we speak a little bit about Omnia? Does that feel like something that's expanding into? And I know a little bit about it. I want you to be able to like speak freely about the partnership, the growth, the vision for this arena.
When you think about what I'm really setting up is this really an ecosystem for an expansive human experience and to really like liberate yourself from anything that stops you from fulfilling your full potential. So you can experience me directly through coaching, or I speak to large corporations, or doing my breath concerts. Then Intentionality is the do-it-yourself way. So it's the methodology and the tools. And then Cascada is the physical space to reconnect. And then Omnia really is this network, this activated network of incredible leaders who want to go to the next level, who want to become conscious leaders and get to this place where they really can get that feeling of fulfillment and peace. Because there's a lot of successful people who aren't happy. So we've created an engine for change, and it's going to constantly keep expanding. What it is now is our commitment is it's always going to get better. And we've identified that there's really sort of 3 things that people really need is, 1, they need a team of experts around them to make them even more successful. And they all need to be speaking. And that's one of the challenges is you might have a coach, a doctor, a therapist, but none of them are really focused around you. They're all doing their own experience. And also, it's very hard to find these experts. It's a lot of luck. So we're picking the best of the best and having it all integrated around you, around your operating system. So we've created an operating system to really help you be more successful and balanced. And we don't want just you to be thriving in one area. We want you to be thriving in all areas. Then we put you around like-minded people, because you've spoken a lot about permission. sometimes when you see someone else doing it or you witness them doing it, it gives you permission to go do it as well. That's a deep role that I play, and I've played this with you, and I've played this especially with a lot of other women who are so incredible and so talented, but because of the conditioning, they don't charge what they're meant to or not feel worthy. And just by me being in presence and going, oh no, you can do this. You're incredible. Like, you're amazing. Like, why wouldn't you? That suddenly gives them permission to get that transmission of abundance or belief in themselves, and then they can go do it. And it's not me, it's just the energy of that frequency that you receive from me because I'm doing that, or someone else. So we like putting you around incredible, extraordinary people and do great adventurous things together, whether it's go climb a mountain, whether it's go do a water fast, silent meditation retreat, a darkness retreat. Like, we just show that there's things to do and you're not alone. And part of that was the Heartland Gathering. And then we have psychedelic retreats and everything as well. And then we also, by the nature of business really runs the world. So we don't want to like fight business. It's how do we use the business to create the new world? So we have exposure to capital and other different ways to grow your business as well. And it's through this one network of growth. And we're really looking for people who just like have this yes energy. Like, they're not so caught up on the how, they just more get connected to how we feel and how the energy that we're transmitting and the way we live our lives. And they're like, yes, I want to be part of that. And I trust you. And I know you're going to take me to the edge, and you'll keep going to the edge. And that's really where people get the greatest transformations with us, where they make one decision. They don't make 100 decisions. They make one decision that I know this group of people are going to help me, and all I have to do is just keep saying yes. And I had a few classic examples of people at the gathering this year where if you'd seen them 3 years ago, you wouldn't have recognized them. And all it required was just a little yes, a little yes, and a little yes. And now they're going, wow, I didn't realize how good life could be. And that's something which I always share is like, you're at 1%. Like, really at 1%, there's just this whole other world, and it keeps on getting better and better. So we're very excited about Omnia, and we have some big goals, and it's very focused on impact. We want to develop all these incredible leaders, and so we can create more impact in the world and put new leaders in different positions of power and maybe do it a little bit differently. And it's not about burning down the old or creating negativity around the old. It's just saying there's new, improved ways. Like, now with AI, we don't need to criticize the ways we were doing things. It's just there's better ways of doing things now.
Absolutely. And it sort of, to me, feels like a portal where there's like a mix of, let's call it like the world of like funding and capital and supportive ideas and highly intellectual people, but not in a way that feels like, oh, I can't show up. And there's just like zero competitions. Everyone in that room has a level of expertise about something. Right. And then there's like a lot of this collaborative energy that's like, fuck yeah, how do we put these two things together? Can we put, my bread factory and your cheese together and make grilled cheese, or what? Like, there's just sort of this like very beautiful, non-competitive, everybody's striving for, I think, a better world or greatness or, but it's not just like in and of themselves as one person. And it also for me, like, was very functional in having conversations more about health, the health landscape across the board, because people are doing it in all different ways and eating lifestyles and what they're doing. And it's not all biohackery in that sense where people are leaning too much or more into technology, but there's plenty of that as well. And so people are really talking about their own health journeys and a lot around mental well-being, which I think there is I don't know what you'd say your tenets are of Omnia, but there's like a mental well-being capacity or pin in it that seemed to show up over and over again when people were having conversations. Because I sat down with people and had chats at Heartland, which is like you said, it's a part of this whole bigger picture. And over lunch, there'd be like a 50-year-old guy who's like, I just told me the story about the woman that he met 2 years ago. And he said, who would have known I met the love of my life in my 50s? Like, I cannot believe, and like tears in his eyes, just being, I cannot believe the journey that I've been on to get to this place, and it couldn't have happened any other way. And that container, especially for me as a female in the space with having men be in their vulnerability, it continues to create, and you do this for me as well, it continues to create a space where I'm like, I feel so safe that I can like shine and I can share my heart, and there's like no preconceived notion, because if a divine masculine energy can be in the space doing this, then I feel like I'm given permission. And there's a balance in that, right? We all have a balance of both masculine energy, feminine energy, doing and being, whatever we want to call it. And every single day at every single meal and many of the workshops and seeing the speakers, it just felt like that over and over and over again. I think this is how we like rise together. So I want to like commend you for continuing to put the vision out there. And it's one that is, I think, not just co-created with you, but it's also ever evolving. And that can feel, for like business people who are listening or visionaries who are listening, like, do you want to speak a little bit to like the ever evolving nature of the container that you're creating with Omnia? Because I think this happens in entrepreneurship where we're building the plane as it's flying.
Yeah, and that's a huge one because the mind always wants to know now and they're trying to understand it. And I'm like, you're going to get caught in the limitation of it. Like it's constantly evolving. Like AI is now moving things quicker than we can ever imagine. So your mind is never going to be able to keep up. But energetically, if you feel like this is a good path, we can trust that, oh yes, it's going to constantly keep expanding. And if we get it wrong, we're going to work out we're going in the wrong direction quickly and move because we're moving. Mm-hmm. And effectively, yes, we have a few co-creators who are leaders of starting this, but really we're focusing on becoming the community of the community leaders and co-creating together what is the new way of moving from competition to collaboration. How do we go from this fear and scarcity to abundance and love process? And all the time, we're just like, okay, give us feedback. How do we do this? What are we co-creating? And we challenge people when they say, oh, you should be doing this better. We're like, sweet, come and help us. And part of what we're doing is we want to bring people from within. People who come and have an experience who are like, all right, you're more likely to now be part of it. Like, how do we showcase your expertise? Because the more talent we have within and the more we can feed all the talent, it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy where it's just like this ecosystem where you can't not be part of this. And that's ultimately what we want it to be. At some point, it's not even a question of like, we're trying to get you to be part of this. It's more just so obvious, I can't not be part of this. And that was one of the beautiful experiences in my relationships. I promise people, my commitment is I'll only offer you things if they're extraordinary. And there's certain times where you just have to say yes. And I'll tell you, these are one of these moments where you just have to say yes. And it's something that I've realized is so important to me. I have this revelation. I have these characteristics of when people want to work one-on-one with me, like what I need. And through this moment of recognition where I was just weeping, where I saw this person I've been working with, like literally face the thing that I wondered if they would ever discover. And they're just so liberated and so free now. And I wept. One was just the beauty of their transformation, but it was actually this feeling of going, oh, wow, they got the best out of me. Like, it was almost like I felt like I'd reached my full potential. And then I realized, oh, that's the most important thing for me now. In order to work with me, it's not about just me getting the best out of you. That would be a given. It's, are you getting the best out of me? It's a two-way relationship. You're not a client of mine. We are co-creating this together. And after that, like, I ended a relationship with a number of coaching clients to create the space for new ones to come through. And also, it's how I live in all areas of my life now. The breath concert, I change depending on something. Someone puts something in the container, like someone is having it, and we shift. Aussie and my son comes in and makes a little noise, and the energy shifts, and we go that way. And we have to realize that we're doing that all day long. And so often when I work with companies, they're like, "Oh, I can't change," and I'm like, "Yeah, you can. Like, you can be part of this change. You have to voice it. You have a unique message that needs to be shared." And obviously, the leadership has to also be supportive, where we create that space for it. But that's the new way of doing things. And it wasn't just us performing, it was all of us performing together. It was one show.
Yeah, no small parts. Will you talk just a little bit about your coaching for people who are interested in working with you at a deeper level? Like, you do some one-on-one work, you do a lot with corporate clients and leadership teams, and just where those things sort of get woven in and how you work with people in that way?
Yeah, so with coaching, I work with a number of like really incredible leaders who know that there's something more and they want to unlock their full potential, and they want it in all areas of their life. And they also don't want to have this like one area that's really bringing them down. And often when people find me, it's not that they're in a trauma place or in a bad place. They're actually in a really good place, but they're starting to see that things might be unraveling in a particular area of their life because of their success. So we'll go on a very personal journey, and there's nothing we won't touch. Someone might hire me to originally start with like, all right, grow my business. And then we'll get into the relationships, their personal life, their health, like it's the whole experience. And all I'm doing, that's really doing, is helping them connect with their infinite part of themselves, not the finite part. And then often they'll bring me into their companies, and how do we get this, what their transformation into their leadership teams and then throughout the rest of the company. And I get to speak on large stages. And I think what I really love that I get to do now is I'll talk about an intellectual concept like intentionality, and then I'll go, let me show you how this is done through the breath right now. And the beautiful thing about the breath is it's not threatening. I just say, we're just going to have some breathing together. And then they take it to a place where they're like, what just happened? And people have these spontaneous transformations, and people who are very like, oh, I'm not a feelings-based person, I'm analytical, suddenly unlock the feeling body, which has always been there. They just they had it blocked. And now they become a more integrated leader, and they're able to make better decisions, move quicker. And ultimately what ends up happening is people realize they can work less, and they can show up in their full self, and they can actually get better results, make more money, have more life freedom, and enjoy it more as well. So it's that idea that you can really have it all. You just have to unlock the full potential of yourself.
Yeah, I would imagine you're seeing a falling away of some of the constructs, and then also like the ability for you to come in and change company culture. It's like from the top down, of course, right? In many ways, we don't all get the blessing of like walking in the door as CEO of every single company. So it's like, but seeing that someone really has buy-in on all of the work, which is their work to do, right? You're acting as a guide. It's sort of their work to do to expand. And whether that be like challenges at home or challenges in the business, which is sort of this like really beautiful nuance that you have as a coach, that you can kind of go in and like see where you need to attack what area you need to sweetly attack first, because Definitely. It's like, where am I hemorrhaging?
Yeah. And it's top down, but it's also bottom up, because I help people realize that like you can be a victim of your experience, or you can be a creator of your experience. So I'm very focused on like creating is that like one of my most powerful words. It's like become the creator of your experience, and you're part of this. And yes, you might think you're the lowest person in the totem pole or whatever it is, but you're still co-creating this experience, and you've got to be responsible for your life.
Yeah, responsible for your actions and your being. Yeah, I love that. If people are listening to this and they're sort of struggling with the ability to surmount what they see as insurmountable, if they're navigating like anxiety about being visionary, or feeling like I'm really stuck at this plateau, and they were just going to say to you, hey, listen, Finn, like, what's the best place to start? Number one, they need to get your book. But number two, is there like 5 or 10 minutes in the morning that you'd tell them to start with? That's either journaling or breathing or staring at the sun or a butthole sunning. I don't know, whatever the thing is. Like
butthole sunning. That's the most important. Sunning. That's the secret. There. Yes. It's really simple, but for some reason it's very challenging. We don't do it. But that first thing in the morning when you're lying there, just take a moment to like really connect with what you are. And when we take a few breaths and we connect to like what we are, we'll feel this infinite part of ourselves. And then we just ask the question, how do I want to feel today? Just how do I want to feel? And just use that as the grounding anchor, and then just visualize yourself feeling that. And if you wanted to feel that, how would you interact with your loved ones? How would you want to be with others? So like this morning, I wanted to feel very present, because I knew I had a couple of different podcasts. I have interactions with my family, and an event occurred. Like it was any excuse not to be present. It was this morning. But I remember that, and I anchored, and I went, well, I can't react to this situation because that's not going to serve me. I'm not going to feel present. So I just dropped in. I went, okay, what can I do to be present? So I went for a walk with my son and went up a hill and connected with the leaves and the trees, and then enabled me to stay in this state and now be in a great place where I'm able to help others, where I could have easily gone into my victim state this morning. It was like such a beautiful moment to go into my victim state. But that wasn't going to serve me. And that's the whole thing. It's not about anyone else. It's just like, how is this going to serve me? And it sounds selfish, but it's actually the most beautiful thing. Like put your needs first, and then everything else will work out. And then at the end of the day, reflect. How did you go against your feeling? And not punish yourself, not criticize yourself, just see it as a way, okay, tomorrow I'll do this a little bit differently.
Yeah, I think that's so important, like not to get in the shame spiral of it, and setting yourself up for the possibility of magic to occur, right? Because there's some mornings, you and I we've talked a little bit about my story just offline, but like, spending a year or two ago of feeling like, how am I going to even just put one foot on the floor? How am I going to put one foot in front of the other? And then really knowing that I didn't do a good job every day, right? Good job if I'm going to be like ranking myself, quote unquote, but knowing that I had the opportunity to do a little bit of a better job the next day, right? Just like 1% better. Could I be a little bit more? Could I find some joy in something that was going to, it does the thing, right? It's replete. It's like comes back to you, and you put the joy on the thing, the joy actually comes. And that's like, it's such a hard, intangible notion that our energy and our thought processes and our, thoughts become things. Is like Emily Fletcher, who was the most beautiful MC for this whole weekend.
The goddess of the gathering.
So baller. She's so great. I'm like, how can you just keep it all together all day, all night? Makeup, hair, clothes. It's mastery is when you make the challenging things look simple. And she just introduced everyone with such joy and delight. And yeah, like we talked a little bit about how the thoughts become things, which is an oversimplification, of course, but like it's a premise of what you're talking about in many ways. It's like in the being selfish and in the putting it out there, even if it doesn't feel in your body like things are going to be joyful that day. I think you can find some structure that's going to, as you put joy into it, it comes back to you and you're like, oh wait, that was joyful.
And it's funny you brought her up, because while I was on the walk, I got to the top and then I just did a little dance party with my son, just because I was like, I've got to activate some joy. Like I can do that. There are ways to do that. I don't have to stay in my victimhood. And then I sent the video to her, and because I was like, you know what, she loves that. She'll get a little rush from that. And then she calls me and we have a call, and I was able to drop in and we just served each other. It was a beautiful moment of presence. And then I was through my day. Like that was the theme. And that's part of the power, is like, if you want some love, give some love. And it comes back to you. It's amazing what happens when you just keep giving.
I really love our time. I know we have more time coming up together, so that's really beautiful. I want to just let people know where they can find you. Again, Intentionality, the book, is like, I can find it everywhere. I looked this morning to be like, make sure it's like, but it's everywhere. You can find it on anything and everywhere, every platform. But where can they find and get in touch with you so that they can, get your skills, get your knowledge, and begin to create a relationship with you?
So FinnianKelly.com or the Finnian Kelly on all the social platforms. And all I would say is just like engage with something. Just like pick something, start a breath, or read the book, or just go to one of the events, go to Cascada, and that's the start. That has been a very intentional practice, is that people need different on-ramps to different things depending on where they're at. And I feel like we've created an ecosystem that enables you to really access any way that's suitable for you.
Amazing. And I'm just going to close out with one quick question, which I want you to take a moment to think on, which is, if you could go back to your 15-year-old self and say, young Finn, I'm going to give you a piece of advice that's going to help you step into your wellness, your humanity, and your capacity for greatness, what would that piece of advice be?
It will serve you a lot more to be kinder to your body and yourself. Just a lot of kindness. I really have pushed myself in my life. And I love that element of myself, but I'm recognizing you get a lot more by just being kind.
So much love to you, dear friend. More to come for us. And please, everyone, go check out Finnian's book. Go to Cascada. Have the most amazing stay of your life. And get in touch with him for all the wonderful ways he works in the world.
Thank you so much, Kristin.
Yes, thank you for joining us here on Well Power. You can submit questions, learn more, shop incredible brands, and connect with me at wellpower.life, or follow me on social at biohacking.breath.cold. From comfort to courage, friends, we're doing it. Any foul language you hear is not approved by my mother.